Do you ever notice that sometimes a relationship doesn't fall apart with shouting, but with a silence that's hard to explain? No hurtful words, no heated arguments, not even a breakup announcement. It's just that the atmosphere between the two of you suddenly becomes unfamiliar in a way you can sense but cannot quite name. In the past, the narcissist clung to you hour after hour, minute after minute, yet now they pull away in a way that feels confusing and abrupt. The irony is this: their withdrawal is not because they are bored of you, nor because they have found someone more appealing. The truth is far more subtle. A well-known psychologist once said that people who crave control are incredibly sensitive to internal shifts in the person they observe, so sensitive that you yourself may not even notice you have changed. And it is precisely that quiet inner shift, not any external factor, that makes them begin to keep their distance. Because narcissists are not afraid of your anger, chaos is familiar to them. They are not intimidated by the boundaries you set in the past. They always manage to bend them. What alarms them is the new calm rising within you. You no longer scramble to hold on. You no longer justify yourself. You no longer live in the fear of being abandoned. Your silence is no longer the silence of panic, but the silence of clarity. And to someone who survives by controlling another person's emotions, that calmness is the strongest warning. The prey is no longer running. That is why, in this video, we will explore 5 clear signs that the narcissist has begun to see you as a threat, not because you have become aggressive, but because you have become clearer, steadier, and no longer vulnerable to their old tactics. If you recognize yourself in these signs, it may mean you are entering the most important phase of reclaiming your power, a quiet, unshowy power that is strong enough to make the narcissist tread carefully. Sign number 1. The withdrawal of projection, and from that very moment, you begin to see clearly how the narcissist has constructed you in their mind from the very beginning. In reality, they never saw you as a real person. To them, you were merely a projection screen where they hung their own unmet needs, fears, desires, and unhealed wounds. You became the ideal partner, the soothing mother, the loyal admirer, or even the enemy, depending on which role helped stabilize their fragile sense of self. What makes you dangerous is the moment you stop cooperating with their script. Not through anger or dramatic confrontation, but through something much quieter and far more powerful. You stop reacting. You stop arguing. Stop explaining. Stop trying to prove who you are. You no longer plead to be understood. Instead, you simply live in your own reality. And in the narcissist's world, that indifference is the loudest alarm. Because when you withdraw your energy from the role they assigned you, they are suddenly forced to confront themselves, the very thing they avoid most. They expect to see their narrative reflected back at them, but instead, they see an independent, calm individual who no longer revolves around them. You become the mirror reflecting the emptiness they have tried to outrun. And a mirror cannot be manipulated, only avoided. Externally, this shift is unmistakable. The person who once scrutinized your every move suddenly grows unusually silent. They stop the exaggerated praise, the intense criticism, the obsessive involvement in your life. Do not mistake this for maturity. It is simply the clearest sign that their projections no longer stick to you, and their strongest manipulation tool is beginning to crack. Sign number 2. You stop carrying their darkness for them, and then, on an even deeper level, you begin to realize that what truly unsettles the narcissist is not just that you stepped out of the role they assigned you, but that you no longer carry the darkness they have been dumping onto you for so long. All the shame, insecurity, worthlessness, and unresolved wounds they refuse to acknowledge, they manage them in the only way they know how, by unloading them onto someone else. So in their story, you are the overly emotional one, the one who always starts problems, the one who makes everything worse. Slowly, subtly, they shift their inner chaos onto you until you start believing it was yours to begin with. This is a common psychological mechanism. Project something onto someone long enough, and they may absorb it as their own. The moment you become dangerous is the moment you quietly hand it back. Not through revenge, but through clarity. You stop apologizing for things you didn't do. You stop absorbing emotions you know don't belong to you. You stop cleaning up their internal mess in exchange for temporary peace. You begin to distinguish between what is yours and what was never yours to hold. When you refuse to be their emotional dumping ground, the toxic material they used to pour into you has nowhere to go, so it settles around them. And this is what terrifies them most, having to live inside their own mind. That's when you hear the familiar lines. You've changed. You've become cold. You're not the person I fell in love with. Translated into honesty, it means, you're no longer my emotional trash can. Yo. The beautiful part is that once you stop carrying their darkness, you begin to feel lighter, clearer, and no longer twisted by the distorted version of reality they tried to impose on you. That lightness isn't just relief, it's the first sign of your inner power returning. And narcissists can sense that shift instantly, because they know their control is slipping away. Sign number 3. You drop the mask and stand in your truth. And unexpectedly, at a quiet turning point, you begin stepping into the phase that truly confuses the narcissist. You stop living as the pleasant version of yourself they were used to controlling. For so long, they viewed you through your persona, the mask you brought to the world to be loved, accepted, strong, agreeable, or never a burden. They got used to you bending yourself to fit whatever story they crafted, but then you changed. Not in a dramatic way, but through a subtle inner adjustment. When you're tired, you say you're tired. When you're hurt, you allow yourself to feel it. You no longer pretend to be okay when you're breaking inside. You stop playing the role of the reasonable one, the emotionally flexible one, the person who smooths everything over. You begin to stand in your truth gently but firmly. To the narcissist, this is a direct threat. Their entire identity depends on masks and narratives. They are the victim to one person, the hero to another, the misunderstood genius to someone else. And they once played your mask expertly. You're longing to be loved, to be seen as kind, to be viewed as good. But when you drop the mask, they lose their leverage, their charm slides off. Their guilt tactics have nowhere to land. Their anger no longer shatters you. You're not cold, you're authentic. And authenticity is poison to the false self. To them, you suddenly seem boring, not because you lack depth, but because you're no longer performing in their script. You walk off the stage, they're left acting alone. This is when they most often withdraw or distance themselves, not because they hold the power, but because they cannot bear standing next to someone whose honesty exposes the artificiality they've spent a lifetime hiding. Sign number 4. You break free from binary thinking and learn to hold paradox. And then something interesting begins to unfold. Long before you fully realize it, you start breaking free from the black and white thinking that kept you trapped in their emotional system. In relationships with narcissists, you are often pulled into rigid binary roles. You're either the perfect good person or the terrible one. They're either the victim or the villain. You must either stay and fix everything or disappear completely. Narcissists thrive in this structure because once they push you into the bad corner, they occupy the opposite side, clean, innocent, sympathetic, and in need of protection. But then you grow. And that growth is quiet. It comes through a subtle realization. People are more complex than binaries. Someone can be deeply wounded and still deeply wound others. You can take responsibility for your mistakes without collapsing into shame. You can acknowledge their pain without using it as justification for cruelty. You step out of their either-or game and into the gray zone, the zone of truth. When this happens, their script begins to crumble. They try to paint you as the aggressor, but you no longer scramble to defend yourself. They play the victim, but you don't rush in to save them. They attempt to stir emotional chaos, but you don't react in the ways that feed them. You simply say what is true without fear, without drama. And this infuriates them, because you're no longer polarized enough to manipulate. You become unclassifiable. And to a narcissist, not being able to categorize you means not being able to control you. In Jung's terms, This marks the birth of the integrated self, where you are both soft and strong, compassionate but boundaried, understanding but not self-erasing. In this state, their binary manipulation tactics simply die out. Sign number 5. You return to your true self. And then comes a moment that only those who have walked through enough pain can truly understand. You begin to return to your true self, the deepest, steadiest, and purest part within you, the part no one can reach or manipulate. This is not the version of you that performs for the world, nor the image the narcissist has tried to mold. It is your real self, calm, clear, and unshaken by anyone's emotional storms. The narcissist is completely disconnected from this depth. They live inside layers of shells, the false self, the constructed identity, the social mask, the need for admiration, the hunger for worship. All of it is just their way of running from themselves. But you are different. From the wounds they caused, you began to look inward and discovered a quiet strength within you that they will never have. When you return to that true self, your energy changes entirely. You no longer bleed emotionally. You no longer search for someone to make you feel enough. You no longer need them or anyone to validate your worth. Instead of living from lack, you begin living from fullness. You become grounded, self-directed, and present in a way that is unmistakable. Your energy no longer broadcasts the fear of abandonment. It broadcasts maturity, clarity, and inner steadiness. To the narcissist, this feels like a signal being cut off. They can no longer hook into you. They can no longer drain your energy. They can no longer steer your emotions. Because every form of manipulation requires a weak point inside you, a fear, an emptiness, an unhealed wound, and you have removed them one by one. This is the peak of transformation. When the previous 4 signs come together, you stop being a projection screen. You refuse to carry their darkness. You drop the mask. You hold paradox. The 5th sign leads you into what many psychologists call the alchemy of the soul. Lead is your old pain, your shame, your fragmentation. Gold is your wholeness, your peace, the real self you are returning to. And when you become that gold, the narcissist can no longer touch you. Not because you have become harder, but because the two of you no longer exist on the same psychological level. You live in truth, they live in illusion, and those two worlds do not intersect. And when you reach a state they can no longer touch, the story begins to shift into a chapter that belongs entirely to you. If you have listened this far, there is a good chance that you can already feel something changing within you. Perhaps you have just begun to sense the first tremors of your own strength. Perhaps you are in that chaotic middle zone, where one day you feel clear and awake, and the next day you slip back into old patterns. Or maybe you are already more integrated and steadier than you realize, and all you need is a gentle confirmation that you are on the right path. But wherever you are, one truth is undeniable. You are no longer the person who once walked into that relationship with the narcissist. You have gone through fire. You have descended into emotional depths you once feared to even look at. You have faced shame, loneliness, and the dark corners of yourself that no one else has ever seen. You have died. Many times in that relationship, died to illusions, died to the version of yourself that was fearful, dependent, and unsure. And each time you died, you were reborn, clearer, stronger, and dangerous in the most beautiful sense of the word, dangerous to illusion, to manipulation, to any emotional system that tried to keep you small and easy to control. The narcissist knows this, even though they will never say it out loud. They may craft a story that portrays them as the one who left first, the one who won, the one who is now doing just fine. But in the rare moments when their defenses fall and they are left alone with themselves, they know a truth they cannot tolerate. You are the one who escaped. You are the one who stepped out of the spiral. You are the one who grew from the very thing they tried to use to break you. And here is the most important part. This transformation has never been about them. It has always been about your journey back to yourself. They were merely the storm, the catalyst, the test that forced you to rebuild your inner foundation deep enough, strong enough, and real enough that nothing can shake you again. From this point forward, your task is not to make them understand, apologize, or change. Your task is to continue becoming the fullest and most complete version of yourself. Strong but not hardened, soft but not weak, clear but not bitter, grounded but not closed. Many psychoanalysts call the final result of this journey a hard-to-attain treasure, the gold refined from the very pain you once thought would destroy you. And finally, please remember this, the truth that is both gentle and powerful. The narcissist may have been the catalyst, but you have always been the alchemist. You are the one who can turn poison into medicine, wounds into wisdom, and fragmentation into wholeness. That power was never theirs. It has always been inside you, and now you are simply waking up to reclaim it.